What is going on? It's your boys. It's Bleed. It's Al Mac. It's Odds HQ. It's odds.com, baby. And we are here doing a recap for the main card. UFC Vegas 22 is in the books. We just saw Derek Brunson and Kevin Holland duke it out in a 5-round main event. I got to jump to my man, Al Mac, who's going to hit us with some of these betting trends. Al, what is up and what is going down in the betting world tonight?
Well, it wasn't the greatest night for me. I'm super excited that you had a good night. I keep noticing that either like we both have good nights, or I have a good night and you have a so-so night, or you have a good night and I have a so-so night. This is one of those where I had a terrible night, so I'm glad that you cashed. But we were supposed to have 13 fights. We ended up with 10. Seven of those 10 went over, and we did get to see 6 finishes. So the fight goes the distance, or fight doesn't go the distance. Went 6-4 tonight for just under a unit profit. And 61 of, I think, 61 of 116 fights so far this year have gone the distance. So that prop has still been cashing, even though tonight was, we saw more finishes than not. But it was a weird one, man. And you had some good looks that after looking at your card that you tweeted out, I was, I was pretty jealous. I was on Dolice too, but yeah, it was a weird one. Tonight was just a weird card. One of those cards that we wouldn't see a couple of years ago. Now that we have a card every single weekend, we end up having these lower tier level ones, but that's where people like you, the sharp ones, make money. So good on you for that.
Yeah, hey Al, listen, it was just one of those nights. I'm with you, dude. I felt like this was actually a pretty sketchy week. I killed it though, dude. I got to keep it real. I went 7-1 on the night, cashed a Hail Mary parlay. The one bet I lost, Dolice. I even looked into the media members, how they scored that fight, because it was such a close fight. I actually thought Dolice had a chance at getting the nod in the decision. They're pretty much split. It was like 10-9. So close fight. I'm not surprised Giles won it all, but it was just one of those nights, man. I was breathing fire. I was pissing excellence. I was due for a big night. I just had some real solid reads. People fought really smart fights. The people, the game plans that I thought were laid out, some paths to victory, people really stuck to it. It was a good night for me, Al. I wish it could have been a better one for you, but let's get into this, man. So the first fight of the night on the main card, we had Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker, who came in here on 3 days notice. Al, man, I got to tell you, the books usually don't give a lot of freebies, a lot of gifts. If you were on Tuivasa, round 1 KO, if you were on the under 1.5, I was. If you were on fight doesn't see the second round, you were given a gift tonight. I mean, Harry Hunsucker has never made it past the 4-minute mark of the first round. Dude, this fight's 49 seconds in the first round. Tuivasa just clobbers this dude. I mean, a guy who's never been past 4 minutes in fights he's had training camps for. What do you think this guy's going to look like coming into a fight on 3 days' notice against a power puncher on the level of Tuivasa? Harry Hunsucker never had a chance. I mean, I'll give him props. He was aggressive. He came forward. Ty cleans up on this dude. A huge step down for Ty. This is a fight he needed to make look easy. He absolutely did. I just think anything involving Ty inside the distance, the KO, the round 1, absolute gifts. That was the likely outcome here. Al, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, this is as low tier of quality of MMA as you'll see, like the UFC put out there. Like this was just, you can tell when they put a guy like Harry Hunsucker, from the regional scenes and input him into even the non-ranked heavyweights in the UFC, you see what happens. And what happens is 43 seconds of just a guy getting completely demolished. And Tai Tuivasa needed the win, right? I think he was on a 3-fight losing streak, so good on him for keeping his job. But yeah, it was chalk all the way across the board here. Tuivasa minus 417 he closed at on the money line, and then inside the distance minus 275, under 1.5 closed at minus 270. So that was one of those ones where in hindsight, yeah, there was no way that this fight was going to last even over 2.5 minutes, in my opinion. And some books even have that line, and I'm not sure what that was, but that would have been probably a good cash too, is under 2.5 minutes. So yeah, man, we'll probably never see. Well, I won't say never, unless a short notice stand-in. We'll probably never see Harry Hunsucker in the UFC again.
Hey, well, listen, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm hyped up. I'm hoping we see a lot of Harry Hunsucker because I'm going to ride every probably bet against him in every spot. I mean, yeah, I honestly, I dig it. Let's keep Harry Hunsucker around. I feel like this is easy money when this guy gets matched up, right? We know exactly what he brings to the table, and it's about a good 2 minutes of action. And if he doesn't get it done, he's taking the L. So let's keep Hunsucker around, and I'll keep betting those unders. So not much to say. Tuivasa blows through Harry Hunsucker on short notice. All right, dude, I got to tell you, here we go, baby. Second fight on the main card, Adrian Ynez, 27 seconds into round 3, finds that shot on Gustavo Lopez. Dude, Al, we talked about it. You even went as far as to say you think Adrian Ynez could hang as a pro boxer. I wasn't so sure of that. At this point, dude, I think you're probably right. Adrian Ynez, this guy's striking. What I want to say, the first thing I want to leave with, efficiency. When Adrian Ynez throws a shot, it lands solidly, and it's usually in a combo, all of which every other strike is landing. I don't know what this guy's striking accuracy has to be after the limited fights we've seen him in the UFC, because he's taken everybody out. He's not even making it to the scorecards. This dude is the real deal. I think we need to see somebody really challenge the takedown defense, see if this guy can get up off the mat when taken down. And that was Gustavo Lopez's path to victory here. Very, very interesting to not see Gustavo Lopez even attempt a takedown. Absolute fight IQ flub, terrible coaching, terrible strategy. I mean, I hate to say it, Gustavo Lopez, dude, you deserve to lose to go out here and spend this entire fight going toe-to-toe with Adrian Ynez. Sure enough, he pays the ultimate price, gets knocked out in the third round. Adrian Ynez, this dude's the real deal. And I actually had Adrian Ynez in a parlay with Gregor Gillespie. That was the parlay of the week this week that I rock. I'm on a tremendous streak with it. Sure enough, it turns into a straight bet on Adrian Ynez. We lose Gillespie earlier in the day. I cash on Adrian Ynez, man. It's all matchup specific, right? Because if we see him get in there with a heavy wrestler, I'm gonna have to question some things, right? But if they keep matching this guy up with other people that are gonna stand and bang with him, Adrian Ynez looks like a money train, and I'm so happy to cash on him tonight at about a -225. The way this fight played out, that was tremendous value. This dude is the real deal. Al, take it away.
Yeah, this was the one bet that I was I saw how my night was going, and I saw that inside the distance at +105, and it was it got a little dicey there. I thought he might have won a decision, but in that third round, sure enough, just absolutely beautiful knockout. Like I've never seen somebody just bounce face first off the canvas so casually. That was epic. That was such a great knockout, and he seems to do that quite a bit, because his first knockout in the Contender Series was a very similar type of counter left or counter right, and he's just devastating. He's got such unbelievable boxing. I think that he's naturally gifted as a boxer, so I wouldn't be just surprised to see him have that takedown defense kind of well-rounded as he gets a step up in competition.
Absolutely. I mean, from when you watch the tape on this kid and you watch the fights he's lost, I mean, it's not like he's undefeated. That seems to be the weak point. But yeah, you'd have to think that this guy realizes that, the days of people going in there and standing with this guy got to be coming to an end, right? Who's going to beat this dude? I don't see anybody. His ability to just see, counter, and set up shots is just on another level. I'm real high on this kid, Ynez. I think the sky could be the limit. I think we're looking at probably a top 15 guy very shortly. Absolutely, if he maintains. I mean, that's however many fights in the UFC and however many finishes. I like this dude a lot, and at minus 225, that was great value, even as a heavy favorite. So Adrian, Ynez rolls on. What's next for this guy? Do you have any matchups off the top of your head, Al?
See, maybe for bantamweight, maybe what's his name? The Arkansas kid. Maybe that might be too much of a step up.
Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, maybe that might be too much of a step up.
Yeah, dude, I tell you what, you're going to absolutely test that takedown defense. So, yeah, that's definitely an interesting matchup because, it seems like Bryce Mitchell's weakness is probably going to be the striking, and Ynez is going to be the grappling. So, yeah, that might be a good matchup, dude. I think Bryce Mitchell, he's really up there now. I think he's right at the top 15. So, we'll see. Is there anything you want to say before we move on to this next fight?
Yeah, just so that's 3 appearances in the octagon. So 2 in the UFC and 1 in Dana White Contender Series, and he's only cashed plus 2.2 units on the inside the distance prop. So I think he was like a minus 135 on the inside the distance in his debut. So it's kind of you're kind of paying a little bit of a premium on this guy to get the win by stoppage. So this is the type, and he's not going to win by submission. So this is the type of fighter. If you look, his inside the distance is plus 105 tonight, but plus 140 plus by TKO. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't bet Ynez by submission. If you're going to do it, bet the TKO prop going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, the dude's got dynamite hands. I love the kid. All right, third fight of the main card. Dude, I don't know what we saw here. It's the weirdest thing, man, because I talked about this technique when I broke down what Montserrat Ruiz brings to the table. And I said she's got a pretty nice head and arm throw that we only – here's the thing, Al. We only see this technique effective in women's MMA. If you attempt this to a man – in the UFC, not only are you not taking him to the ground and maintaining dominant position, you are absolutely getting your back taken, both hooks in, and are fighting off a rear naked choke within seconds. Yet Montserrat Ruiz, for 3 rounds, just grabs the head of Cheyenne Bays, throws her over the hip, or essentially just drags her down, and literally – Al, I haven't seen this since 4th or 5th grade. Schoolyard bullies Cheyenne Bays just with a headlock, rides it out. I mean, throws some good shots, does just enough to keep her down, to stay busy, to maintain a dominant position. I mean, eventually in a couple rounds, Cheyenne gets out, but does essentially nothing. And honestly, the most action we saw from Cheyenne happened after the fight when we had a very weird interaction between Montserrat and Cheyenne. And you know what? Another thing I got to talk about, Al, before I'm done talking about this very strange fight that could only happen in women's MMA and honestly can only happen in low-level women's MMA. Both were making their debut here. Let me say this before I forget. Cheyenne Bays, big-time favorite here. I want to say like minus 325. I said all week, man, that is suspicious. Where are we coming up with this number? This makes no sense. This fight should be so much closer. Dude, I wish I had the balls to bet on a Montserrat Ruiz at that number. I just couldn't do it. I wish I had. It was a great play. Hats off to the Ruiz backers, right? I had no action on this one. I'm glad I could sniff out the danger on Cheyenne Bays. Montserrat Ruiz gets like I said, a weird schoolyard bully win. I don't know where either one goes from here. I don't think either one's ultra talented. We'll see how far this headlock technique takes Montserrat Ruiz in the UFC, but it's going to come back to haunt her at some point. Al, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, this was a super strange fight, and you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. With women's MMA, we're seeing now where these game plans, these tailor-made game plans are they're working really well, and it's kind of just like you're nullifying the thing that your opponent does best, and that's kind of what Montserrat was doing. As far as where they go, I think Montserrat Ruiz, I think she's kind of marketable. I think she's just like she seems like super tough. You might be able to get some wars out of her with maybe a fighter who can strike a little bit better than Cheyenne buys. But yeah, it was a weird fight and a super weird ending. And if you told me that Montserrat was going to win by decision, I would have said you're crazy, because just the way that even though she's the type of fighter that is overwhelming with her wrestling, and she's got it just seemed like her style wasn't going to work with Cheyenne buys at all, and it worked perfectly. And yeah, that headlock technique, yeah, somebody eventually is going to figure out how to I think that's how GDR, that's how she got that submission, was her opponent was trying to get in that headlock position, and she just caught a guillotine. And so, and once you start fooling around with those higher level grapplers, she's going to for sure end up getting caught in some type of submission, but it works. And I think we'd probably see her around, because she just seems like markable with the tattoos, and she seems like super tough. She took the fight on short notice as well, so an odd fight, an odd fighter. And yeah, just one of those weird fights that there's not really much else to say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's all you can say, man. Congrats to the Ruiz backers. You were on the value side. I'll never know where that line came up with, but congrats to the people who were brave enough to take the shot on it. You absolutely cashed, and it really wasn't a sweat. Pretty dominant performance. All right, so that takes us already up to the new co-main event. Dude, this is one, man, that another spot, man. I had a bet on Max Griffin just straight up. I just felt like this was going to be a good matchup. And dude, Max Griffin, this was the best performance of his career. I mean, comes in there 2 minutes and 20 seconds of the first round, just walks through Kenan Song. I mean, Max Griffin's most obvious path to victory here was going to be hitting the takedown on Kenan Song, right? Well, we saw him attempt one fairly early. Kenan Song shucks it, stays on his feet. Definitely a moral victory early in the fight for Kenan Song, who I think realizes, the Max Griffin game plan is probably to take him down. Man, this just didn't matter. Max Griffin is the better striker, more aggressive, just hits Kenan Song with some absolutely deadly straight shots. His hands are looking good, super fast kicks. Max Griffin at 35. This guy's really come into his own. I had a straight bet on him. I was really confident in Max Griffin. I said it on the Friday show with the boys. I'm confident in Max Griffin, maybe more than I should be. Man, apparently I wasn't confident enough. This dude, again, another guy at minus 200. Man, the way that fight played out, Max Griffin looked like minus 1,000. You know what I mean? Just pure and utter domination. Kenan really had nothing for him. Maybe landed a good jab or two. Max Griffin makes easy work of Kenan Song. Al, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because if you look, this is so he's had 11 fights in the UFC, and he's now only won 5 of them. So he's still a sub 500 fighter in the UFC with a 5-6 record, which is super interesting. And then this is only the 3rd fight in his career in the octagon that has gone under the betting total. So he's had, I think he had like 4 wins by decision. So it's not like him to get these outstanding walk-off KOs. The under 2.5 in this fight was plus 180. Fight goes the distance was plus 162. So the market was definitely not expecting a highlight reel finish like that. And inside the distance on Griffin plus 340. So yeah, the market was expecting Griffin to win a decision here, and that's not what happened. And I don't know what if the bonuses came out or what, but I hope that Max Griffin. I mean, Adrian Ynez was also a pretty wild knockout too, but those two guys should probably get some performance bonuses because that was he made Kanaan Song look outclassed in it. Like he made him look like how the market thought that that earlier fight, Jesse Strader, Montel Jackson, where Montel Jackson was like a minus 700 favorite.
Right.
That's how Max Griffin looked,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Max Griffin's a guy that he's been guilty of kind of fighting to his level of competition, right? Even in fights where it feels like he should be the better man, he fights really close, and he's kind of had a lot of decisions go the other way, right? Some really close fights. I think he's really broken through mentally. He seems to now, he's not saying, let me make this a close, entertaining fight. Let me go out here and prove that I'm the better man, handle my business and get out. This is not a paid by the hour job in the UFC. Go in there, don't get hit that guy a lot, take him out, cash that check, and get yourself a $50,000 bonus while you're at it. I think Max Griffin gets that at this point. As a veteran fighter, man, I'd like to see him get a step up in competition here. He seems to really be on a roll, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I think this looks like a guy that I'm probably going to be backing, unless it's a considerable step up. I've cashed on him his last two fights, and it's just been some really spectacular pure domination in these last two spots. What do you think? What do you think this guy has in sight in the future?
I would say I'm looking a little bit ahead. What about you give him the winner of, I don't know, this might be a little bit too low for him, but I was going to say the winner of Impa Kasanganay and Sasha Palatnikov. But that actually might be because Kasanganay is coming off a loss, but he had a little bit of hype.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, that might actually be still a step down because I'm just looking at what's coming up ahead as far as welterweights go, and it's it's just clogged up in the bottom end. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he definitely needs maybe if not a step up, maybe a bigger platform, like put him on a pay-per-view in this type of position as a plus or minus 210 favorite or something like that. But yeah, welterweight, especially welterweight is almost just like everybody's matched up right now. So he just needs to let 2021 and, let the COVID era of MMA play out so he can get in there. Hopefully he didn't take any damage, so he's probably going to be on a quick turnaround.
That's exactly what I was getting at, Al. I'm like, honestly, maybe he doesn't take a step up in competition. That was pretty much a, Mortal Kombat flawless victory. I don't think he's dealing with any damage at this point. At 35 years old, he doesn't have a lot of time left. Maybe let's just get him in there and let him rack up another one real quick. So there's got to be somebody looking to get a fight, right? So hopefully we get a quick turnaround on Max Griffin. Song Kanong, I don't know, man. That could be the end of the run. You look at the quality of opponents he's beat, very low. None of these guys are still in the UFC. You look at who's beat him. He beats non-UFC caliber competition and loses to UFC caliber competition. I mean, how much more obvious does it need to get, right? All right, so that was our co-main event right there. And oh, buddy Al, just to cap off what was a phenomenal betting night for your boy Bleed here. It was hey, listen, I do got to say, shout out to my man Lock of the Night. Shout out to my man MMA Prediction Guru. And we even switched it up. Got our boy Cody Saftik to totally turn it around and switch picks. It was a squad ride. Derek Brunson on the Friday show. You guys know what that means. When we're all on the same side on that main event underdog, you knew what had to happen. Derek Brunson gets that unanimous decision win over Kevin Holland. I mean, a fairly dominant performance, right? Kevin Holland had some moments, landed some good shots on Derek Brunson, but the most obvious and clearest path to victory for Derek Brunson to win this fight was to go in here and repeatedly take Kevin Holland down. And that's exactly what he did. It was a rinse and repeat scenario, right? Brunson had a couple good moments on the feet as well. I think he hurt Kevin Holland a few times, but dude, Kevin Holland has porous takedown defense. It's shown time and time again. And Derek Brunson, I mean, how many takedowns did this guy fail that he committed to? I'm having a hard time of thinking even really one. Essentially, when he would connect his hands around the body of Kevin Holland, regardless of if he had a hook, underhook, whatever, Derek Brunson was dragging him to the floor, maintaining in a dominant position. But here's the real big bugaboo, the problem, the nightmare for the Kevin Holland backers, which there was plenty of them. You know, this was your 2020 Fighter of the Year, Mr. Pandemic, a guy who was coming in here, you know, talking a lot of talking a big game, and probably a guy that was in position to start getting the UFC media and marketing team behind him in a spot like this, right? This is a guy that I think UFC was looking to build, but my goodness, we see this narrative time and time again, especially lately, and especially against a guy that Derek Brunson's fighting as an underdog. It just doesn't happen. Kevin Holland, the smaller point I'm making here, Kevin Holland, when he would get taken down, was constantly putting a body lock, a body triangle on Derek Brunson, who was in his guard, essentially. Kevin Holland is locking Derek Brunson on top of him. Kevin Holland is not attempting to get up. As a matter of fact, he's making sure that the fight stays there, making sure Derek Brunson's on top of him. I'll never understand it. It's not like he was ever setting up any sort of a submission. Why he would do that baffles me, and I was so glad to be on the Derek Brunson side in this spot. I felt like the value was just tremendously off. I ended up betting Derek Brunson is like, I don't know exactly, but I want to say like a plus 175, plus 180 maybe number. I waited until the very end. I knew Kevin Holland was probably going to take public money up to the point the fight went off. This was a pretty clear-cut win for Derek Brunson, another underdog spot that Derek Brunson cashes as a 37-year-old man. Man, Al, I got to stop rambling. Hit me with it. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, like, you know, as long as we've been doing this show, I've been on some heavy underdogs in these main events, and this is one that I'm kicking myself on because I've said it a bunch of times. This is one of those fights where as soon as the fight started, I was like, oh, I'm going to lose because I backed Kevin Holland, and he had no plan B, you know. His plan B was to try to get under his skin, like I don't know. His plan B was just it had no effect. And Brunson came in, and he's a wily veteran, right? He knows. He didn't react to him once, and he knew. I feel like Brunson probably saw what Blachowicz did to Adesanya and was just like, aha, you know, give me another shot, and I'll make good on that. And with that being said, because of that fact alone, we'll probably never see him fight Israel Adesanya, even if he goes on like wins 3 more fights, because Izzy will duck him for sure. Because if Brunson fights like that and just gets on top of him, there's nobody there's nobody that has that. He's got such good top control. He's got such good. You're basing that off of Kevin Holland basically doing nothing. And I think what Kevin Holland is he was scared of the ground and pound, and that's why he was doing that body triangle and just trying to lock him up. And I think that he was trying to get Herb Dean to stand them up too, and he was just trying to conserve energy. I think that his game plan was to piss him off and to talk shit to him, and then to eventually, wake up in the 4th and 5th round. But he had nothing for him. And then, those folks that were, high on Kevin Holland and his striking ability and saying that he'd be able to go toe to toe with Israel Adesanya, you're crazy. Because even when he went toe to toe with Brunson was taking most of his best shots and just eating them. And Brunson's type of fighter. We've seen him every single time he stepped in there since the Adesanya fight. He's been better. He's been way better, and he's improved exponentially for the past year and a half. leading up to the Shabazian fight. So yeah, figure whatever happens with middleweight, like Derek Brunson's still a contender, and he's not going to
he's
go
in the
away.
mix now for sure.
But because I think that he has such a good good path to victory against Adesanya, I don't think they'll ever make that fight because like I said, I think if he implements that same game plan that he had tonight against Israel Adesanya, we now know that he'll be in trouble. But that being said, he did catch a devastating knee from Adesanya in that same scenario. But I think just to circle back, I think he's a way better fighter than he was when he fought Izzy like in 2018.
Yeah, well, listen, we're talking about a different guy, and I talked about this, all week. Brunson used to be one of the worst fight IQs out there. This is how I put it, and it's not a lie. Watch the footage. Derek Brunson used to get in the octagon and essentially Naruto run face first around circles in the cage with it just chin out, chin up, and he would get caught time and time again. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes he'd catch the other guy too, but it was just a coin toss with Derek Brunson. He's either getting caught and getting finished or he's catching the other dude, right? And now we see him go to Sanford MMA. And this is what I was getting at, all week is we're seeing a new Brunson. We're seeing a calculated, strategic, high fight IQ Derek Brunson. And that's absolutely what I was banking on here tonight, because if I can see that there's a clear path to victory to beat Kevin Holland, my man at Henry Hooft at Sanford, he does too. You know what I mean? So I got to give Brunson absolute props. There were a couple times where I felt like he did kind of stand. I almost feel like he gave Holland his chances, and Holland really had a hard time pulling the trigger, especially late in the fight. There were moments where the fight was back on the feet, and you're saying, "Uh-oh, Holland's got a shot. He could land that shot." Never pulls the trigger. As a matter of fact, man, you want to talk probably getting in the bad graces with the boss man, Dana. Man, that fight ended on a real bad note for Kevin Holland. The fact that he actually got up, was given an opportunity, the Hail Mary shot. And what did this guy do? Turns his back and walks across the octagon, basically just saying, you know what? Let's not even attempt it. That'd be like in the NFL, a playoff game, the Super Bowl, where it's 4th down and long. And instead of taking the Hail Mary, the quarterback takes a knee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, not a good look, honestly, to end a fight that was in generally not a good look for Kevin Holland. Man, like I said, Al, I'm as happy as could be. The underdog cash on Derek Brunson. I felt like he probably should have been the favorite. Is there anything you want to say about this, Al, before we take a look ahead?
I was just thinking about matchmaking for both of these guys. For Holland, we mentioned it before we started. I think for Holland, maybe Jared Cannonier if he doesn't drop down, or maybe I know Uriah Hall is fighting Weidman, but if something happens with that fight, maybe he can step in. But even then, I think he pretty much earned himself right out of the, that myth that he was going to be able to break into the top 5. And then for Derek Brunson, I think good luck. He's going to have to continue to be a gatekeeper and continue to fight up and comers because no one's going to fight him. Like maybe Paulo Costa.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he called out Paulo Costa. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I swear I saw something like that. Yeah, man. And the thing is with Derek Brunson, it's like, Dana White, he's not a needle mover, right? I mean, when you fight Derek Brunson, it's pretty low reward, high risk, right? Because if the dude can fight at his best, he's really good. You know what I mean? But you beat Derek Brunson. Who's Derek Brunson amongst the casual fan? Oh, you mean the guy with the Cisco hair? Like, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, though. He keeps coming out here and winning some fights. He'll keep building his brand. But, I mean, we are talking about a 37-year-old guy. So this is a dude who, I mean, what does he have, really? Like, a year or two? I mean, do we really think a 40-year-old man is going to be making waves in the middleweight division? I don't know, dude. Maybe if it was light heavyweight, maybe if he was a heavyweight, but at middleweight, a little too much speed and a little too much. He's just getting old, so he needs to go now. He needs to step on the gas now, and hopefully he finds himself in another big fight, maybe another fight night main event. What do you think of that, Al?
Yeah, or he would be perfect for Bellator because he's got Bellator written all over him. Even though he's a UFC mainstay, he's right in that spot where, I don't think Izzy's going to give him a rematch. He's kind of got nowhere to go unless he moves up. So I think did he ever fight at light heavyweight? I think he might have at one point in his career.
Brunson, I don't think so, man. He's been fighting middleweight since Strikeforce.
So yeah, like I just feel like he's kind of topped out as far as his ceiling, because unless somebody else wins the belt, I don't think he'll get a shot again, unless he'd have to win 4 fights in a row or something. But he's the type of guy that I think could go and make a living and make have another 5 years of his career in Bellator. But what does that say?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, as soon as he hits 40, I'm sure Scott Coker is going to be rock hard to sign him. So Scott Coker loves nothing more than signing an aging UFC veteran. So, all right,
Exactly.
Al, you wanted to take a look ahead here. That's pretty much our recap for UFC Vegas 22. Hopefully you guys made a little bit of money. Man, phenomenal night for me. I'm happy about that. But I tell you what, I am hyped. I am excited. Al, let's put that right in the rear view mirror. Baby, I'm ready to step on the gas already because it's fight week as far as I'm concerned. UFC 260, they're running it back. The big boys, Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic 2. Al, lead us off on this one.
Yeah, so we've done this twice already. We did this for the night after UFC 259, and I was like banging my fist. Francis Ngannou is going to win. And then last week I was like, I changed my mind. Stipe is going to win. And I got to go with, it's as simple as Francis Ngannou inside the distance, Stipe Miocic by decision. And then, because you're getting plus money on Stipe, you don't really need to be greedy and take that decision prop. There's a good way that you can take both sides in this, because there's no chance, and I know that I said this last time, but there's no chance that Ngannou is going to win a decision over Stipe. So Stipe has won 4 of his 15 fights in the UFC by decision, and it's been the most profitable way to back him. With a 4-11 record. To win by decision prop, 8.9 units profit. But then that being said, Francis Ngannou inside the distance, 10-2 plus 8.2 units profit. So it's one of those things where you just got to weigh the value of the 2 props. And I think that if you split your wager with Stipe money line and Stipe by decision, I think you're in good hands there. I think this fight should be closer to pick'em, and I think that Ngannou is kind of being a little bit overvalued. So taking him in a favorite spot is kind of iffy, especially in a rematch. How many times, like if you think about it, how many times do you see a rematch where the guy who lost is now a bigger favorite than he was the first time? Like if this was boxing, this would be ludicrous, right? Like the guy who lost is never the favorite the second time. And that just seems weird. Like does the market think that Stipe got worse? He just had 3 fights in a row with one of the greatest UFC fighters of all, like arguably at that weight class, light heavyweight. He's a practitioner as far as Daniel Cormier goes with his wrestling. And I'm sure that Stipe learned a heck of a lot in those 3 back-to-back fights with Daniel Cormier. I think he's gonna be able. He's got the tools to stay out of that punching range of Ngannou. And you hear in these promos that everybody's saying like he's a change fighter, he's a different fighter. There's no evidence whatsoever that Francis Ngannou is a different fighter. And I'm not going to bet on hopes and dreams, right? I'm going to bet on what I've seen. I'm going to bet on the evidence. So it's the same type of thing with like what we were talking about with McGregor, right? There's no evidence that he's gotten better. There's just the perception. And that's what's happening here with Ngannou is there's perception that Ngannou has gotten a lot better than the first time, but we've seen less than I think a minute or like a minute 16 seconds combined since their last fight. Or sorry, no, that's not true because he fought Lewis. He fought Lewis after he fought Stipe.
To a decision.
But even then, that was a terrible loss. So, so I think you got to go Stipe. I think Stipe is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, I still haven't made up my mind. This is it's really an insane fight, dude, and I'm not sure who I'm going with yet. Unfortunately, we found out literally just a few hours ago. This is probably going to be news to a couple people. I mean, unless you were really paying attention during the event, we did lose the co-main event: Brian Ortega versus Volkanovski. Super unfortunate, man. Another really exciting and really tough matchup, you know. And I kind of said that I felt like the X factor was Ortega coming off that big layoff. He looked so good against Zombie. It was really tough to gauge where is he at? How good is this kid? Unfortunately, we are not going to find out a week from tonight. I would imagine we see it rebooked. Maybe they slide it into UFC 261. It's a COVID protocol, so it shouldn't take long. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a false positive and Volkanovski's like cleared within a week to fight. So unfortunately, we lost that one. Looks like a fight might be sliding into that co-main. And it's one that you've already touched on before, man. And you got a little wild and crazy with it. But I got to be honest, man. I'm so with you. Vicente Luque, Tyron Woodley. We've already talked about that, right? There's not much to say there. We're both on the Vicente Luque side. My man Al Mack is waving the Vicente Luque flag from the mountaintop and is ready to plant that flag right into a Big Max bet. I love it, though, Al. I love the passion. I love the putting his money where his mouth is, folks. We're not kidding you around here. Al says he's going for it. He's going for it. So it's gonna be a great fight. I'm absolutely gonna have something on Vicente Luque as well. I just think Tyron Woodley's so shot, stylistically speaking. Vicente Luque, an aggressive guy that comes forward. Tyron Woodley's gonna have to. He needs to hit up whatever the guy. Hit up Michael J. Fox. See if he can find that Back to the Future car, because dude's gonna have to go find like the 2013 version of Tyron Woodley, maybe that 2015 at the absolute latest to win this fight. I just don't see a throwback performance in the cards. The dude, I don't get me wrong, Tyron Woodley has fought ultra high level competition. Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, and Gilbert Burns, who, I don't think is quite as good as either guy. And I think we saw that that's the case. Absolutely. But either way, really good high level dudes at this point, championship level guys. Is Vicente Luque at that level? I'm going to say no, but is he still at a level that I think we've just seen Woodley decline steadily past? I think probably. So I'm going to tell you right now, the pick is Vicente Luque. I really don't need to think about it. Here's a very good matchup, though. Thomas Almeida versus Sean O'Malley. Man, I don't know what to think about this one. O'Malley coming off that first loss of his career. We got some question marks with this kid. He was ultra impressive up to that point. It hurts the foot or the ankle against Chito Vera, then ends up eating some gnarly elbows off the mat, kind of got his head bounced like a basketball, seemed to go out and then kind of almost woken up, but either way, the fight was stopped. O'Malley playing it off. I'm still undefeated. Social media, rip the bong. You know what I mean? Like this dude is something else. And I want to see how he bounces back after that loss. And Thomas Almeida, a guy that, for people who don't know, man, this kid was so hyped up at one point, but has just fallen off a cliff, has 4 losses now, might even be fighting for his job. This kind of looks like they're kind of giving O'Malley a guy they think might be shot and a guy that's absolutely going to stand and bang. We don't need to worry about Sean O'Malley fighting off his back or anything like that. Thomas Almeida is going to go toe-to-toe with this kid. Looks to me like it's going to be a Sean O'Malley bounce back spot, unless this kid's broken, unless taking that first loss really changes something. And we just, we see a guy that's been exposed and just isn't the same dude. I think Sean O'Malley probably wins this one, but who knows, man? Maybe I'll change my mind. Fight week. I still got this is all leans. This is all pre-tape. This is all pre-analysis, right? But I think the UFC marketing machine is still behind Sean O'Malley, and I think they're going to try to give him a favorable matchup here. What do you think of that one, Al?
Yeah, my only concern with backing O'Malley here is that he might have hurt his leg more than he's leading on, and that he might have also not have rehabbed properly.
Sure.
Especially if he's going to stand and bang. I'm just, if I'm Almeida, I'm coming out and I'm bringing that calf kick game heavy, right? And then it just comes down to what's O'Malley going to do. O'Malley either has to knock him out or finish him before that starts to, starts to work dividends against him, or he's going to have to show us something that he hasn't shown us yet, as far as a takedown or he has been decently impressive on the ground, but we've known him, for that walk-off knockout that he had 2 fights ago. And I'm not discounting his ground game, but if a guy is going to start attacking his legs like Chito Vera did in that fight, he's going to have to show something other than, just standing there and taking it, because especially it's kind of like it's one of those things where if you've had it before and the pain is going to be much worse. It's like a kidney stone or something, right?
Sure.
Where if you have a taste for that pain. And so if Almeida is able to hit him in that tender spot in that calf and maybe hit that nerve like Chito Vera did, it's a different game. But yeah, that's something that I can't bet Sean O'Malley, again, just off the top of my head and off of pre-tape study, based on that number that I see right now, like minus 265.
Oh, wow. See, yeah, Al, I didn't even have the odds in front of me, but you know what? I'm not totally surprised either. I still, like I said, it's that the fact that this O'Malley kid, even off that bad loss, I think still is going to have some hype regardless. And man, Almeida has just been on kind of a slide. So I guess I'm not too shocked by the number, but yeah, little too much probably. Of course, most favorites, it seems like in this game, always seem to get a little wide, especially when they have the name value, the recognition. So I guess it is what it is. Are there any other matchups that are looking extra worthy of us mentioning at this point, Alf, as far as UFC 260?
There is the one fight that has been pushed back like 5 different times, and that's Alonzo Menefield and William Knight. And that's like I think that's the feature prelim, and that's a straight up pick 'em, minus 105 on both sides. I don't have a call for that one. Those guys are like mirror images of each other fight style. So that's going to be I feel like that's one of those ones where the totals haven't come out yet, but that's one of those ones where the whole market is going to be super heavy on the under 1.5.
Oh yeah.
And you might have them standing at each other for a good 4 minutes before we see any action. So fight starts round 2 and over 1.5, I think, are my first looks on a fight like that, where the market's going to be heavy on the under in that, because everyone's going to think that there's going to be a quick finish. And then another guy who's also similar to both William Knight and Alonzo Menefield is Kama Worthy. He's fighting Jamie Malarkey, which isn't the greatest fight, but Kama Worthy minus 138 favorite. And just on first look, I think that's a pretty decent value. I'd have to look at it further. And then another fight that has been pushed back, I think this will be the 3rd time that they've tried to do it, is Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. And this fight is so funny because every single time they post the odds, it ends up being a lot closer, and then Maverick ends up taking tons of money. So she opened as like a minus 115 favorite. Now she's all the way up to minus 160. And that already happened twice in the past 2 times that this fight was, put on the odds board. So yeah, I think from what we've seen from Miranda Maverick, she's on a whole other level as far as this division. I think Jillian Robertson, I don't know, like if I hear this perception that Jillian Robertson might be fighting for her job, but she's got a great record in the UFC. And I think that even if, I think that this might be her last fight in her contract, but I don't think, even if she loses this fight, I don't necessarily think that she's fighting for her job. But I do think that she's outclassed a little bit by Miranda Maverick, who could be like a future contender in the UFC in general. She's so young, super skilled, and yeah, that's one that if you're gonna bet Miranda Maverick, I would do it now, because that line's gonna swell, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up at like -200 by fight day.
Absolutely, yeah, man. I'm totally with you. All righty, what do you think, Al? Should we wrap this thing up and get out of here?
Yeah, and there's so much other things coming up, and we're gonna get all to it. I guess next week we have a break, so next week we'll talk about everything that's coming up in the in the future. So I think the Easter weekend or whatever, we have a weekend off, but then after that, like, it's just insane. We have Bellator 256. We have UFC on ABC2. We have we're gonna finally have a lightweight champion with my man Charlie Olives taking on Michael Chandler.
Oof,
we got Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, and then this was a fight that Jessica Andrade, Valentina Shevchenko. This is one you kind of called as far as where the betting line, the value would be, and I think I think there's some value on Andrade in this fight. Look, there's going to be Shevchenko is at -350, and people are going to say she's only -350. And I wouldn't be surprised if she closes at like -700. And then a crazy war is going to be Wiley Zhang and Rose Namajunas. And like, that's not even, we're not even out of April. And there's still so much other stuff. There's still Beneil Dariush, Tony Ferguson, which that'll be insane. Brendan Moreno, Davison Figueiredo, like, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And, it's going to be awesome. So I'm super excited we'll get into this, next Saturday night when we have some time to talk about all of this stuff that's coming up in the spring and the summer.
Oh boy. I tell you what, man, I cannot believe we're already talking UFC 260. Time is just flying by, man. We are so spoiled with all this action we've been getting. And like you said, Al, it's just only picking up, man. The return of Bellator, PFL, man, it's just going off. It is a great time to be an MMA fan. Absolutely. So glad and grateful we can be here to talk about it every Saturday night and bring you this recap. Thank you guys so much for watching, man. We will be here. Hey, listen, UFC 260, that press conference wraps. Me and my man El Mac, same time. Well, approximately same place. That's for sure. And we're going to talk about it, man, for sure. We got a good thing going here. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy seeing you guys in the chat, no doubt. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Hit that thumbs up, man, all that good stuff. Until next time, he's Al Mac. I'm Bleed. Al, what do you want to say before we wrap this one up?
Max bet Vicente Luque.
There you go. That's all he's got to say. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. Put it on a T-shirt, baby. Scared money don't make money. Quotes - bleed. All right, folks. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you next week. Let's keep the train rolling, baby. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have some fun. He's Al Mac. I'm Bleed. We're out of here.